This is day 7, and in this lesson we will continue our work with the normal distribution. That's also known as a bell curve, but it is a normal distribution. And we're going to be talking in terms of probability, but it's the same thing as what we've been doing with the percentages. Now, this is the key to everything. All right, this is your model of a normal distribution, a bell curve, with the more values in the middle and fewer values as we get towards the extremes. But basically, you need to memorize all these percentages. Okay, 68% for the middle two. 95% of the data is within these positive or negative 2 standard deviations. If I go out to 3 standard deviations, that's 99.7% of the data, and that would break down into these chunks. Memorize these numbers. Now, I think I shall cheat a little bit. Okay, so I cheated by copying this picture over, but you will have to draw it yourself. The mean is 8. So that goes in the middle. Standard deviation is 2. So to get the numbers going to the right, we are going to add 2 over and over again. So that means, you know, I feel like changing colors. Okay, so if that's the mean, so this will be 10, 12, 14. And of course, this will be 6, 4, and 2. So fine, we drew the distribution. Alright, I think it would help you if you put these numbers on there as well. Now, draw and label the area within 1 standard deviation of the mean. Okay, well, that is this area. Let's see, how can I label it? This is the area within 1 standard deviation of the mean, right here. Okay, so I will just put plus or minus 1 standard deviation. Okay, like that. You know what, maybe I changed my mind. Plus or minus 1 standard deviation. I've already kind of have it marked with the 68%, so I can just put my plus or minus 1 standard deviation right here. All right, draw and label the area within 2 standard deviations of the mean. Okay, well, that's going to be this zone right here, so I could just put plus or minus 2 standard deviations. And did they go for 3 as well? Yeah, 3 standard deviations. That's this area from here to here. So plus or minus 3 standard deviations. Okay, there, I've labeled it. So I will not need all this space. Let me just absorb some of that. Now, where do the middle 95% of the values lie? Okay, the middle 95%, that's the plus or minus 2 standard deviations. So that is from 4 to 12. And we can write that this way in interval notation, 4, 12. In this context, it means the zone from 4 to 12. Okay, where do the lowest 16% of the values lie? 16%. When I look at this, I don't see any 16s on here. Now, if they're talking about the lowest, all right, the lowest 16%, should I be looking at the right side of the graph or the left side of the graph? Well, yeah, the lowest 16%, clearly I'm going to be talking about the left side of the graph. So let's just start adding these up until I get to 16. this little piece right here, that's 0.15%. Okay, I need to go further. If I go ahead and include this piece right here, now I'm up to 2.5% if I add these together. Now if I throw in an extra 13.5%, okay, to include all the way up to here, guess what that makes? Alright, altogether that makes 16%. So that's it. So this zone right here, from here to here, is the lowest 16%. Now, normally, so far, I've been able to say these intervals by going 4 to 12. I have a beginning number and an ending number. Now, watch this very carefully. All right, you're lucky to be listening to this video, because this is where a bunch of kids will make mistakes. A lot of students will make a mistake. There is no beginning number here. All right, this 16% zone, it ends at 6, but it does not end at 2. Okay, you see it goes over here, and it doesn't end at 0 either. This is open-ended. This remaining part of the graph continues forever to the left. Okay, this, you know, it might get smaller and smaller, whatever, but it doesn't end. It does not end. So we cannot put a number here on the left side. So you have two choices. If you want to describe this area, this bottom 16% of the graph, you can either use words and say something like below 6, okay, because it's 6 and less. In fact, you could say that, 6 and less. Or if you want to still use interval notation, you can, but you have to recognize that we're going to need some sort of infinity to reflect that this goes forever. So you could capture that by saying, okay, on the left side we have negative infinity, and then on the right side we have 6. Okay, so negative infinity to 6, that's how we would write it if we wanted to stick with interval notation. Okay, infinities on the left are negative infinity. Infinity on the right, if it was over here, would be positive infinity. Okay, so those are the different ways you could write it. I'm just going to copy it over here. So we could say below 6, or we could say negative infinity to 6. All right, this means these two things mean the same thing. All right, where do the lowest 2.5% of the values lie? We're still talking about the lowest, so we're still talking about the left end of the graph. Now, I basically answered this on my way to finding the 16%, because right here, if you add 0.15 and 2.35, no, not right now, Java. I'm kind of busy. Yes, cancel. Okay. Just these two zones together make our 2.5%. Okay, so this range ends at 4, but where does it begin? Again, it begins at negative infinity. So if I wanted to describe this, I could either say below 4, or I could say negative infinity to 4. Okay, do not say 2 to 4, because I'd be leaving out this 0.15%, and do not say 0 to 4. This goes forever to the left. Okay, so where do the lowest 2.5% of values lie? We could either say below 4, or we could say negative infinity to 4. Find the probability of randomly picking an x value that is greater than 10. That's what this says. The probability that x is bigger than 10. Some random value is bigger than 10. Okay. The probability is the same as these percentages that we've been talking about. So focus on the part that says greater than 10. So because we're talking greater, we're looking to the right. Okay, so here's 10 right here. So if we go greater than 10, we're going in this direction. Okay. Okay, so this is the zone that we are discussing. Okay, when they ask us for the probability, all right, this P stands for probability. Probability is the percent. So they're asking us for the percentage of values that are greater than 10. So we can just read that right off of this graph. Just add these three numbers, and as we saw on the left-hand side, these three zones add up to 16%. So that's the probability of randomly picking a value in this area, is that percentage, 16%. Okay, what's the probability of picking a value below 12? Okay, that's what this is saying. All right, this is below, so I will look to the left of 12. Okay, so you see your 12 there. So here's 12. We need to stay below 12, so we're looking in this direction. All right, so we're doing this. All right, so it is all this. Okay, so what's the probability of randomly picking a value in this area? Well, probability is percent. So we can just add up all these percentages and that will be the probability. All right. There's a faster way than adding up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We could add up these 6 values and that would be the answer. But it's a little bit quicker to just start from 100 and subtract this little unshaded part over here. So this is starting off from 100%. Okay, I could subtract the 2.35 and the 0.15. These two together make 2.5%. Okay, so I could take 100% and subtract my 2.5%, and that should leave everything else. Okay, so that's going to make 97.5%. So that's what we've got. That's the probability of picking a random value below 12, 97.5%. 97.5. Please don't forget your percent. If it's a percent, you have to write percent, or it's a completely different answer. Okay, let's keep going. Find the probability of picking a value that is greater than 6. Okay, greater than 6. Well, here's 6, so let's do that. Okay, so greater than 6 would be to the right of 6, like this. Okay, so we are talking about this zone right here. Kabam! Okay, fine. Anyway, so again, we could just add up all these percentages and that would be it. Let me use a different strategy this time. Look, starting from this middle line right here, okay, we definitely have everything from the mean to the right, this entire part of the graph. So what percentage is this part from the red line over? Okay, instinctively you know that that is 50%. All right, it's half. From here over is half of the picture. So one way to do this is to realize that, okay, look, this part of the graph over here, at a glance, you know is 50%. And then this part of the graph right here, of course, is 34%. So in 2 seconds, you can just go, okay, 50% plus 34%, that would be the whole thing. So that's a little quicker than trying to sit here and add 34, 34, 13.5, 2.35, and 0.15. It's even a little quicker than subtracting this over here. Okay? So just another way to do it. So that's going to be 84%. All right? Either way, you're going to get the same answer. I'm just trying to give you different ways of thinking. All right? So that is 84% is the probability. Now, when you have a little number sandwich over here, the probability of picking a value, and see I have 6 is less than x, which is less than 12, I want you to think one word, between. Okay, this is suggesting that we're picking a value between 6 and 12. Okay, that's what this really means. So this is asking what's the probability of picking a value between 6 and 12. So between. So between 6 and 12. So let's get it going. Okay, so here's 6, here's 12. So this is the zone between 6 and 12. Okay, so this is the zone that we are talking about right now. Alright, so the probability will be the percent. So again, we could just either add up all these numbers, or if we can find some kind of a shortcut, that's great. But it's pretty simple, just add up these numbers. So obviously that is 68, and then add in your 13.5, and that's going to be your answer. So your 68% plus your 13.5%, that's 81.5%. So that's the probability of randomly picking a value between 6 and 12. 81.5%. Okay. An aptitude test has a mean of 220 and a standard deviation of 10. Alright, it is approximately normal. That means a bell curve like we've been talking about. Alright, draw the distribution. I'm going to cheat. Alright, I just cut and pasted, but you will have to draw this yourself. So good luck with that. Alright, the mean is 220, so that's why right here in the middle I will put 220. The standard deviation is 10. Well, that makes the math nice and easy. Alright, so this should be 230, 240, 250. Of course, I got these numbers by going up one standard deviation each time. Alright, adding 10 each time. And to the left, I will go down or subtract one standard deviation each time. So this would be 210, this would be 200, and this would be 190. Okay, now we can answer some questions. Where do the middle 95% lie? The middle 95%, well, that's 2 standard deviations in both directions. So that's going to be from 200 to 240. Alright, so those are the scores. 95% of the scores on this aptitude test would fall in that range, 200 to 240. Okay, and I can just write that this way, 200, comma, 240, and that means the range from 200 to 240. It is not x, comma, y. Where do the lowest 16% of the values lie? Well, this is just like what we just did before. The lowest 16% would be from here over. Okay, like this. Okay. That's the lowest 16%. So that's below 210, if I want to say it in words. Okay. I could say below 210, or I could say negative infinity to 210. Either way, those two things mean the same thing. But I cannot say 190 to 210 or 180 to 210. All those would all be wrong. This goes forever to the left. It doesn't stop. Okay, so that's how we do that. Where do the lowest 2.5% of the values lie? Well, 2.5% will be just the bottom two zones. So these two zones together make the bottom 2.5%. So below 200 is how I would say that in words. Alright, so I can either say below 200 or I can say negative infinity to 200. Find the probability of picking a value above 210, okay? And this does mean above 210. So anything above 210, all right, it helps me to do this shading. So here's 210 and here is above 210. All right, this is the zone that they're talking about, the interval that is above 210. Now they're asking us for the probability. Okay, this P stands for the probability. Well, the probability is a percent. All right, so they're asking us for what percentage of the values are above 210. So I could just add all these up, or I could realize that, let me switch to red for a second. I could realize that from here over, okay, this part of the graph is 50%. And of course this piece right here is 34%. So I could just add those up, 50 plus 34, so that's going to be 84%. All right, to me that's about the quickest way to do that. Okay, above 210, that is 84%. What's the probability of picking a value below 240? So yes, this is saying below, and this probability is a percent. So they want the percent of values that are below 240. Okay, well, erasing all my previous work. Okay, here's 240, and we need to be below 240 because it said less than. Okay, so this is the interval that is below 240, and we're supposed to say what percentage this is. So I can either add up all these percents, or probably in this case it would be quickest to start from 100, and because that would be the whole thing, and then subtract the part that's not included. So I could just subtract this 2.5%. All right, and that's going to turn out to be 97.5%. Okay, so that's the probability of a value below 240 is 97.5%. Okay, and last but not least, part F down here. I feel sad that it's on a whole nother page. Can I bring it up? Whoa. All right, this has got to be between 200 and 230. All right, when you see a number sandwich like this, think the word between. All right, between 200 and 230. So we're trying to find the probability of randomly picking a value between 200 and 230. So between 200 and 230 would look like this. All right, here is 200 and here is 230. All right, so this is the interval that we are discussing, and we're supposed to find the probability, which means the percent. Okay, so we could just add these up. So this is clearly 68%. All right, we've memorized that anyway. And so we just need to add in an extra 13.5%. 68% plus 13.5% turns out to be 81.5%. So that's the probability of picking a value between 200 and 230. 81.5%. All right, that is it for this lesson. I hope that it was helpful to you, and I will see you on the next video. Peace out.